Now the rest of the story. It was midnight, almost precisely midnight, when the little girl rushed into her parents' room and shook her father awake. He, the vicar of Epworth, rubbing his eyes, asked what was the matter. The distraught child answered in gasping, fragmented phrases that sparks and cinders were showering down from the ceiling over her bed. Indeed, the rectory was on fire. The vicar gathered his wife and the rest of his children as quickly as he could, hurrying them down the blazing staircase and out into the yard. Only then did he realize that one small son was missing. The vicar bounded back into the rectory, but the fiery staircase collapsed under him. Barely escaping the conflagration, he staggered outside once more, and there he fell to his knees, praying that the little boy's death would at least come swiftly. But then somebody in the swelling crowd of onlookers spotted the child in a second-story window. One man stood on the shoulders of another, reached upward, and pulled the vicar's son to safety, just as the roof collapsed in flames. By the first light of morning, the fire was out. The rectory lay in smoking ruin. The vicar shuffled among the ashes of what had been his home and his earthly belongings, realizing sadly the cause of what had happened. An accident? Of course not. No, you see, the vicar had angered many of his parishioners by condemning their failings from the pulpit and by sympathizing with an unpopular candidate in a recent election. In any case, threats had been made, followed by violence to the vicar's livestock and even to his pet dog. So the fire this night past was surely perpetrated by local enemies. The question remained, where was the vicar to go from here? And he asked himself this, as his foot kicked something solid in the sooty debris. It was a scorched remnant of his treasured Bible. He picked it up and tenderly opened it. Only one verse was legible on the page before him, and there in the breaking dawn he whispered those words, "Go sell all that thou hast, take up thy cross, and follow me." In that instant the vicar of Epworth decided what he must do. He must rebuild his home, and if thugs burned it again, he must rebuild it again. But he must never allow those who hated him to drive him away from those who needed him. And he never did, even though his trials were far from over. Even though the following year he was imprisoned for debt, the vicar of Epworth maintained his devotion to all in need, his fierce optimism, and yes, even his sense of humor. The vicar's children grew up honoring his remarkable example, especially the little boy narrowly snatched from the flames on February 9, 1709. For more than 2.5 centuries, the world has recognized and revered the man that boy became, Vicar Samuel Wesley's son, the father of Methodism, John Wesley. And one thing more, all of his adult life, John Wesley cryptically called himself a brand plucked from the burning. So many people never knew what he meant by that. But you do, because now you know the rest of the story.